Dear students, welcome to Social Studies class. Last class we had discussed about our Earth. There are in all 5 oceans and 7 continents. Did you study it well? Okay. Today we are going to study about the shape of the Earth. For many thousands of years, it was believed that the Earth was flat. At last, scientists proved that the Earth was round. How they proved? The astronauts who went into space took photographs of the Earth from there. That photograph showed the Earth is round like a sphere. However, it is not a perfect sphere. The Earth is flattened out at the north and south poles and bulged at the equator. So the Earth have an oblate spiral shape. The shape of the Earth is an oblate spiral shape. That is, the Earth is flattened at the north and south poles and bulged at the equator. A globe is a model of the Earth. On the globe, we can see the correct size and location of the all land and water. At any time, one half of the globe can be seen. By rotating the globe, we can see other half of on it. Look this picture of this globe. We can see one side of the globe. Then we rotate this globe, we can see other side of the Earth in this globe. The globe can be turned by moving it about a line passing through its two extreme ends. The line is an imaginary line and is called the Earth's axis. X-axis means an imaginary line passing through the north pole and south pole of the Earth. Look this picture, you can see. So, north pole, this is south pole. An imaginary line passing through these two poles. So, this line is called Earth's axis. The two end points are called the poles. The upper point is called north pole. The lower point is called south pole. The upper point is called the north pole. The lower point is called the south pole. On the surface of the globe, we find a set of circles and semicircles drawn. The full circles are called the lines of latitude or parallels. They run from east to west. Look, this picture is a picture of latitudes. Latitudinal lines. These lines are latitudinal lines that run from east to west, that moving. So full circles, that is called, that line is called latitude or parallels. They run from east to west. Okay. The semicircles are known as the line of longitudes or meridians. These lines run from north to south. Look this picture, you can see these lines are meridians or longitudes. That lines runs from north to south. Okay. An imaginary line that runs midway between the north pole and the south pole. This line divides the Earth into two equal parts. It is called the equator. It is also the longest latitude. Look this picture, you can see This line is equator. This equator divides the earth into two equal parts. The big line, the big full circle is known as, the big line is called the equator. This is the longest latitude. Okay. The part of the earth which lies to the north of the equator is called the northern hemisphere. The part of the earth which lies to the north of the equator is called northern hemisphere. The part of the earth lies to the south of the equator is called southern hemisphere. That is, once more, the part of the earth which lies to the north of the equator is called northern hemisphere. The part of the earth lies to the south of the equator is called southern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere consists of most of the earth's land. So it is called land hemisphere. The northern hemisphere is also called land hemisphere. So most of the earth's lands included this area. Then the southern hemisphere entirely covered by oceans. So it is called water hemisphere. It's called water hemisphere. The southern hemisphere is mostly covered by oceans or water bodies. So it is called water hemisphere. Look this picture. This is the equator. Then the two equal parts, the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere is called land hemisphere and the southern hemisphere is also called water hemisphere. Now we can wind up our class. Just to revise our topics. First we discussed the shape of the earth. The shape of the earth is an oblate spiral shape, that is, the earth is flattened out at the poles and bulked at the equator. Then we discussed the earth's axis. Earth axis is an imaginary line passing through the north pole and south pole of the earth. Then we discussed the poles. The upper point is called the north pole. The lower point is called south pole. Then we discussed the latitude. The latitudes, the full circles are called the line of latitudes or parallels that run from east to west. Then we discussed the longitudes. Longitudes are the line of semicircles, that is also known as meridians. These lines runs from north to south. Then we discussed the equator. You say an imaginary line runs midway between the north pole and south pole that divides the earth into two equal parts. That is called equator. Equator is the longest latitude. Then we discussed the northern hemisphere is a part of the earth which lies to the north of the equator. That is called the northern hemisphere. It includes earth's mostly area covered by earth's land. So it is called land hemisphere. Northern hemisphere is also called land hemisphere. Then the part of the earth lies to the south of the equator. It is called southern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere is entirely covered by oceans. So it is called water hemisphere. The southern hemisphere is also called water hemisphere. Okay. Today our activity is find out more about the theories related to the shape of the earth. Find out the more about the theories related to the shape of the earth, that you can write a brief note in your social studies notebook. Study well. Okay, we can meet at the next class. Thank you. Have a nice day.